welcome you to the table. Tonight we are going to be talking about, we've actually not been here for 2 weeks, and so this is always hard when we come back because, it's like we're trying to get back into it. And that's why it's good to always have a schedule and try to stick to it, because the minute that you step out, it's like the enemy doesn't want you, to get back into this. So I'll let Lisa pick this week the topic, which is, it's still, I feel like what we need to talk about each week is like, how in the world do we do this? Like we live in this world that doesn't belong to us. It doesn't have anything to offer us. Everything that it offers us is a distraction, or, and I know that the Lord made this world good. He made this world good and we're supposed to enjoy it. I'm struggling enjoying it. I really am. Because once you detangle so much from the world, not that those things go away, because they don't. I mean, you still have temptations. You still have desires to just give up, it's so hard to stand when there's not a whole lot of people standing. I mean, and I know a lot of people, they get mad at or they don't like how I say it. Well, these people, or so many people. I look out at everybody. I look out because I want to know, am I on that small rural road, or do I look like everybody else? So I'm a visual person. And so when I look out at what everyone is doing, everybody seems good. But I'm not. I mean, I'm not good. I have just really struggled this past week with just being not. I have looked at, like, am I depressed? No, I'm not depressed. There's joy. There's peace. There's love. My marriage is great, and so it is just because prior to COVID, we were planning vacation. I mean, we were living our life a whole lot differently than we're living it now. At least I was. I mean, I didn't really think about going to heaven or Jesus coming back prior to 2020. I mean, we were just living our life. We were going to football games and cheerleading, and
you didn't realize it was so close.
Right.
Yeah.
And so 2020 happened and kind of put a turn on everything, and you start waking up and you start realizing this world is not what we have been told or taught. And that made me run straight to Jesus. When I realized the evil of the world, as far as not just like murder and robbery, but the satanic agenda, the good versus evil. When you see that in the world,
and it's basically all over
everywhere. Like I used to hear people say all the time, like, this is Satan's kingdom. Yeah. And I thought, okay, it's Satan's kingdom, no big deal, but God is going to protect everything, and he's going to make sure that everything, and that is not how it is. We have free choice. And so if the Lord comes and intervenes in your issues or your problems, he's overstepping what he's given you. He's given you free choice to make your decisions. He's given us the way to do it, but you still have free choice. And so if you think that you can make a bad choice and God's going to come in and save the day, he's not going to unless you invite him to. And so a lot of people just think that God is like over us, and he's like, oh, don't get too close to that edge. Oh, no, don't. And he's not like that. That's not how he is. And he's given us a free choice. We can live this life however we want to. And so when you do try to live like this and by his guidelines, and these are good things, but it's like I am constantly fighting against the world, against movies that, like, we choose every night. We choose to watch, we don't have TV. We have just Netflix.
Yeah, we do too.
And now we have said that we are going to get the local channels back. We want to be able to watch the debates and as it gets closer, so we will do that, and then we'll end up canceling again.
We have a antenna.
Oh, do you? Okay,
yeah,
so we don't have any. We're in BFE, so so we are going to do that. But but even trying to find a movie that's appropriate to watch with your husband. Not that we don't. And I'm not strict on my movies like I should be. I mean, because there's just you run out of movies, and we watch war movies. And so a lot of those are rated R, so I don't go by the rated R. I hear the words they use because they're in war. But even with like our food, you have to search on the back of the ingredients to find the goodness, to find the good food. We're searching constantly in this world to find what is.
So we're not manipulating.
Yes, or deceived, and just to be able to live in this world is hard to do as a Christian, and so I guess I'm like, I don't know, I seriously, a lot of people are like, oh, Christy, you are turning to where you're just all about rules, and that's not me at all. I want my vessel to be clean. I want to die to myself, crucified crucify your flesh, walk in the Spirit. But to do that in this world every day is exhausting. Mm-hmm. And that's why we're kind of talking about, because people make it 20 times worse. You got your own issues that you're dealing with, and then you bring somebody else into the picture, and then you got all their hot mess. I mean, it is a lot. And I just don't remember it being this hard. Mm-hmm. Do you remember? I don't remember, and it's because my talk has changed. It's so hard because I used to not talk about Jesus all the time. I mean, I'll talk about Jesus, but not like this. Yeah. And so, now that my topic has changed, a lot of people don't want to hear it. They don't have time for it. I'm a conspiracy theorist. I think Jesus is coming back. You know what I'm saying? And so it's even the people that you're trying to witness to is exhausting because they're, like David this week.
Offended by everything.
Yeah, well, this past week, David came in and he called me and he was like, I just witnessed to one of my guys. And he was so pumped up about it. And he was like, he told me he's going to come to church on Sunday. Well, he didn't come to church on Sunday. Yeah. And I feel like that is our walk as Christians. That we want to tell everybody about Jesus. And we have, we have the love, but then when you get to that person and they're not accepting of it, it just beats you down and you're just like, Lord, what am I doing wrong? Yeah. And it's just, I just feel like that's constant. I'm always, people will contact me and they'll say, okay, help me, I got a problem, I need you to help me.
And you always hear people say, well, all you're responsible for is planting the seed. But that's still hard when you want it for that person. They're the one that has to act on it.
I mean, when you follow this and you try to look like Jesus and I even try to do as Peter and Paul, because I relate more to them than Jesus was perfect. I'm more of a stick my foot in my mouth or try to whip somebody, for touching Jesus or whatever. I can't even, like Peter and Paul and all them. I guess it's just you want to see God move and you want to see the harvest. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Maybe it's just my mind frame. Maybe it's just where I am. But do you feel like that? Do you feel I have no motivation? Mm-hmm. I have no energy. I had somebody tell me they feel they feel it because I was doing a live on TikTok, and I forget where they said they were, but a spirit of depression is what she said she feels that is all over everywhere.
But you don't feel depressed.
But I'm not depressed. Because I'm thinking I have to, I've been depressed before. This isn't where I don't get up out of bed or anything like that. I mean, I'm tired, but I'm thinking, what is going on?
And we're getting older.
That's probably it. I'm old. That's probably the answer. Jesus probably he gave you the word. Christy, you're old. Yeah. But no, I don't think he wants us to.
I think everything that you're saying is valid, and I've been feeling the same way for a while. But I just, I was just saying, you're always so upbeat and hardcore about everything, and I'm just kind of hanging on to your shirt tail, trying to hang on because I've lacked the energy and I lack.
But I tell you
the motivation.
I think it's because we're so, and this is when you're with me, it's like we can go do whatever. Mm-hmm. There's just power there. Yeah. But and maybe it's that we need to, the church or the people need to gather more and do, I don't know what it is. I mean, doing the Lord's work is what I want to do. I don't want to do anything else. I want a ministry. I want to tell people about Jesus all day long. I'll stand on, but it's right now, there's not really anything going on. Mm-hmm. Or should there be, and I'm missing it?
Should we be serving? We should be.
So,
and
yeah. So if you're here wanting answers, this is probably not the podcast for you. Because I'm trying to figure it out myself. All I can do is point you to Jesus. But I feel like, Lord, should I be this exhausted doing this? Yeah. And I know he'll come in because he always does. He comes in, he sweeps in, and he, gives me a boost of energy and stuff. But it's like, golly, these wilderness, I feel like I'm in the wilderness, just kind of waiting on the Lord. That's when I get restless. And
it's trying to figure out, and we've talked about this before, is how do you rest in the Lord? And that might be what he's trying to teach you.
Yeah. But I focus so much on my sin because I just feel like there's so much of it. Like, I feel like, I don't know, I guess I look at it like wanting to be blameless, not sinless, but things that I, like, we'll talk about it today. Don't let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth. Whew, that can come out quick.
Yeah, happens before you know
it. Yeah. So it's like I'm constantly, or just gossiping. We've sugar watered it down so much by, even with prayer requests, when you're like, oh, so and so's, this is what she's going through, and we tell the business about everything she's going on. Yes, for prayer, but sometimes it can get into a gossip session just so easy. Like, I don't know. Maybe I guess maybe I just need to bathe in his grace for a little bit, But then there's just part of me that just wants to clean my life up so much to be used by him.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right. So, do you want to read Ephesians, or do you start out how you were going to start out? Because I know Ephesians, we're going to be talking about those people.
Yeah.
Those people in your life, whether it be at work, in your family. It might even be your spouse, or one of your kids, or your brother or sister, or whatever. Everybody has those people, and you might be those people too. So,
and those people, what we're talking about, and we both watched the same sermon from Craig Groeschel, I think is how you say his last name.
He's so good.
He is.
He is so good.
Breaks it
Life
Church.
Mm-hmm. So if you want to watch somebody, like we talk about Pastor Alan Nolan, and then Craig, I can't say his last name. She's so much better with words.
Groeschel.
Yeah.
It's Groeschel.
And it's Life Church. And I mean, he just is so, that's who my husband really enjoys listening to. Even a tone of voice can affect who you listen to. So.
Well, and when you listen to him, he is so honoring of his marriage and of his wife and of his kids and his family. Yeah. So it's nice to hear.
I thought it was funny. He was talking about his wife and how faithful she is, and she doesn't let them go to bed mad.
Yeah.
And he said one time we didn't go to bed from Monday to Thursday. He's like, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it's because there's a reason. And I guess if we look at the big picture and we study and understand what all is at risk, if you go to bed mad or if you don't forgive someone, there's so much at risk. And not for them, but for you.
Yeah.
Because that's who Satan's after. And if you don't forgive somebody, or and we're going to talk about all this, but it don't affect anybody but you. And so this is what we're trying to do. Because I don't know if anybody, ministry's been the hardest thing. I mean, I've owned a daycare for 18 years. We are licensed for 242 children. Goodness. And that's a lot of families, a lot of mamas, a lot of daddies, a lot of aunts. And so I have had numerous times where I've had to deal with people when you take care of somebody's child. I feel like I'm constantly, I'm a server, and so I'm going to fix anything that I can't fix, or that they aren't happy with. But sometimes it's difficult people when you've done everything you can and you still can't please them. And that's what spiraled me. When I spiraled into drugs, it was the other people. And it wasn't their fault. It was me that I didn't know how to control it or understand it or but other people pushed me by their mean words, by being cussed out, whatever happens in your workplace. Dealing with public is hard to do. Sometimes you just are in the wrong place. Somebody's been road rage or whatever, and they walk in and you're just the first victim. And so that's like that in ministry. I used to have friends till I started talking about Jesus. I'm just being very honest. My husband can vouch for that. He has watched, and even my family has watched, like, sit down and shut up, Christy. Let people think what they want to think about Jesus, but that's not what the Lord was calling me to do.
I've even seen their posts saying that.
Yeah. And so I had to stand up against my whole family, my husband, my kids. And it wasn't that they were against me talking about Jesus. They hated what they read from mean people and from the public or whatever. And you got to be tough to handle the public. And so we're going to talk about that. And it may be in your own family. You may have a sibling that is, you two just can't be in the same room together. Or maybe it's you and your dad, or you and your mom, or a step parent, or whatever. So what does the Bible say about dealing with hard people? And so it takes us to Ephesians.
Yeah, Ephesians 4:26. It says, "Be angry and yet do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger, and do not give the devil an opportunity. He who steals must steal no longer, but rather he must labor, performing his own hands what is good, so that he will have something to share with one who has need. Let no unwholesome word proceed from your mouth, but only such a word as is good for edification according to the need of the moment, so that it will give grace to those who hear. Do not grieve the Holy Spirit of God, by whom you were sealed for the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and slander be put away from you, along with all malice. Be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving each other, just as God in Christ also has forgiven you."
So as I was growing up, yeah, it was a lot. So as I was growing up, there was a guy named Eric that I was friends with, and I remember he was older than me, and I know one time we were talking about something, and he said to me, in order for you to be forgiven, you have to forgive, because you've been forgiven. Mm-hmm. And that has stuck with me my whole life. And that was such a huge thing for me. Just somebody that was not like, he wasn't he wasn't in my friend group, but he was older, but just something that he said in a conversation stuck with me my whole life. So it's important what you say to people. But this verse has so much. Mm-hmm. So let's start with 26, where it says, "Be angry and do not sin." So we know that we can be angry. So what does it mean, be angry and do not sin? So what did you gather from him when he was talking about that? Like, what is being angry and do not sin?
You can be angry, and it's okay to be angry, but what you do with it mm-hmm. is the sin.
Yeah.
And so talking bad about somebody else, being physical with somebody else in your anger, all those kind of things, yeah. That's not what they want you to do.
Yeah. It says depending on the motive and it's a motive and purpose. If you're going to destroy somebody, or because we're going to be offended. There's a verse in here. I didn't write it down, but we are going to be offended. You're going to be offended. You're probably offended by something that I say on this podcast. You could be offended by, if you left right now from your house, or if you're in your car listening to this and someone cuts you off, you can be offended. You could be offended. There's some of you who have been, for 20 years, somebody in high school maybe stole your girlfriend or boyfriend, or they said something bad about you or your family, and you're still mad mm-hmm. because of what happened 20 or 30 years ago.
You've probably been around people who are always offended
yes.
over everything. You can't
it's
say
a spirit
anything.
Of being offended, yeah.
Yeah.
They just want to be offended by everything.
Yeah, and one of the things he said is being offended is inevitable, but living offended is a choice.
And that's the truth.
Yeah.
Like we all know those people who are offended by everything. You can't say that the sky's blue without them. Oh, no, see the white, yeah. Like you there's always something that they're going to say. And so, but those people need Jesus more than anybody. So how do you live in a world where you work with someone who is always offended, anything you say, or maybe they are offending you by what you talk about Jesus too much, or, whatever. So, I love the fact that it says, do not sin, do not let the sun go down on your anger, mm-hmm. And give no opportunity to the devil. That is, I think, having him explain that to me, or in that sermon today, about the opportunity that Satan is waiting. He's watching for an opportunity. And if you don't do it the right way, you're giving him opportunity.
And it talks about not giving Satan a foothold.
Yes.
And so the Greek word foothold is a place or a room. And so if you're giving Satan room in your life with being offended, you're giving him a foothold, and you're giving him access to your family, your marriage, everything.
Your children, all of it. Forgive people, not for them, but for you. And so what does that do? Like, half the time when you're mad at somebody, the person you're mad at has no idea that they did anything, because you were the one offended, not them. So they've said something, they don't even know that it bothered you. But you've held that, and you've got bitterness and resentment, and it has built up, and like, it breeds to different, like, it might start out as anger, and then it goes to resentment, and then it goes to bitterness, and then it goes to malice, where you're looking like, wanting them. I hope they get pulled over by the police, or oh gosh,
I don't like it when I feel like that. I don't want that.
Well, that's the world we live in, because that is the majority of the people. We all have our own truth. We all have our own. We're trying to find ourselves in this world, and self-love, and everything that goes against this. And so being offended is going to happen, but living offended is a choice. And so what do you do? What do you do when someone offends you? If someone walks in and be like, I mean, I've had people like, you look like you've gained about 5 or 10 pounds.
I had somebody at the office tell me, you look worse than I feel.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Or when you like have tried to make yourself look good, and then they'll be like, "Are you sick today?" You're like, "What?" Yeah, I don't feel good. You're like, "Well, I really feel like crap now, because obviously, I got up 30 minutes early to curl my hair, and now I look sick." But that is constant. Yeah. You are constantly going to be offended. You're going to be offended at church by what the pastor says, because he's going to preach from the truth, from the Word of God, and it offends. Okay. So, but let's say, like, I have had people in our church say some offending things. I choose not to let it offend me, because I know, and we have to go back to that verse that says we're not into it with like flesh and blood. But if she's having a bad day, and she's not been in the Word, and she's not been praying or whatever, and then she's had a bad day, and she comes in and she says something ugly to me, well, my enemy is not Lisa. Mm-hmm. My enemy is the enemy, the devil, and he's just used Lisa, to do his business. But she's not my enemy, and that's how we have to look at everybody. That's hard to do.
It's very hard to do,
especially when we're supposed to pray for our enemies, and we're supposed to lift our enemies, encourage them up. I have a lot of enemies here in Facebook and whatever, but they're not my enemy. Like, I don't have any enemies. I've had people come and take pictures in front of my daycare, making fun and things like that. I don't hate them. I pray for them. I ask the Lord to bless them. Let them see, but so we're to pray for our enemies. You shouldn't have an enemy. If you're a child of God, you shouldn't have an enemy. Really. I mean, I look at, like, if you want to look at Russia, or you want to look at another country as an enemy, I guess you can do that. But, like, you shouldn't have an enemy. No one is off limits, I guess, to being you have to forgive, or you won't be able to minister to anybody. You may not like somebody's personality or whatever, but they're not your enemy. And I think that we look at people as our enemy all the time. Like, they stole my boyfriend when we were in high school. Or they said something bad about me. They're my enemy. It's hard to do that. But I think just like at our last women's conference, we had a situation where we had somebody there giving their testimony about being bullied and self-harm and things like that. And the Lord put the girl on the front row of the women's conference. So you don't tell me that the Lord doesn't want He doesn't want restoration. He wants people to be healed and see their mistakes. But that was probably hard for that girl, and she did come up and apologize and whatever, and it was great. But the Lord wants people to be. We are in this together. When it goes down at the end of the when I feel like Jesus is going to come back really soon, but I feel like it's going to get bad. We're all in this together. We're all on the same team, and so. But forgiving people's hard. Why do you think that?
Because we're flesh.
Yeah.
It's
and your feelings are hurt.
But when you're at a point when you have forgiven someone and you can stand outside of that fleshly feeling, it's so much better on the other side of that.
Yep. Yes.
And you don't want to continue nurturing the anger, the offense, the unforgiveness, because that's what gives Satan a foothold in your life.
And your focus is off.
Yeah.
If you're focusing on I will honestly say, the hardest years of my life have been the last 5, with detox and grief and the beat down. And I always say I got a beat down in the very beginning because I came out being very bold and strong, and it was right in the beginning of 2020 when you didn't say things. Mm-hmm. And I mean, people came after me. They came after my business, my employees. I mean, it was over George Floyd. And, a lot of people, I will be remembered as the girl who posted about George Floyd. I was just making a comment that lightning struck down a mural in the middle of the day with no lightning, no cloud in the sky. The lightning, no storm, and the mural was knocked down. God won't be mocked. And, oh gosh, people ate me up. So anyway, but if it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for losing all my friends, losing some family, reading the very hard things to read about myself and my family, they would come after my kids. Everything. They come after my husband, and I have an older son, and my young girl Carly. They both are hot-headed, so they wanted to whip everybody for their mommy's sake, But, and they'd see me cry over it. My feelings hurt. I mean, this was 4 years, but I can stand today with everybody. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
It does not affect me what you say about me because I know who I am. But if I wouldn't have went through that, I mean, you wouldn't believe the times that I ran to the Lord crying. You won't believe what they said about me, or they said I was racist, or they said I was this, and I'm not this. He knows that. Mm-hmm. And I would just run back and tell him. And now, today, I mean, it don't. I'm not saying it don't hurt, but you won't know it. I mean, and you have to. A lot of people will say, well, I've lost friends, I've lost family. Good. Because he's preparing you to stand. If you worry about what Sally says about you, you'll never stand when it's time to stand because you're going to worry about what Sally said. But when you worry about what Jesus says, nobody, because you just see it. I don't know, he just gives you this confidence to stand. And that's but you have to be beat down. It's a process. So we have to understand that the enemy has a scheme. Mm-hmm. That's hard for us to understand. We don't want to think that the enemy is coming after us. We've always heard he's here to steal, kill, and destroy. Yeah. That's churchy talk. We don't really believe that. But he's really here to kill, steal, and destroy.
Yeah, and in other terms, it's to discredit, divide, and what was the other one?
Distract.
Distract, yeah.
Yeah, so he was talking about the different things that he thinks. Like he said, if I was a demon, and I was in a demon meeting, and I needed to hurt God and hurt the children of God, how would I do that? And so he came up with these. He said I would divide families, friends, churches. I'd make them talk about politics and race, talk about Jesus, talk about COVID, Ford, Chevy truck, Democrat, Republican. Yeah. I mean, you think about the things that we are divided on. We're divided on just anything.
Yeah.
Anything and everything.
Coke or Pepsi,
right. And they both are owned by the same people. So you see how that's what's so crazy. That's what's crazy. Everything is a choice. And if he can keep us divided, because united, we stand so strong. It says to be united in Christ. What if we were all united? Can you imagine if everyone knew their spiritual gift, if we encouraged and edified like we were supposed to do the church, and then we were united?
We'd be unstoppable.
I mean, the enemy couldn't, but we're not. We all have our little Like Christy's over here, Lisa's here, Brittany's here.
Baptist, Pentecostal.
Yeah. Then you get, well, that's not
folk,
even the denominational stuff. And that's where a lot of us have gotten our wrong teaching. Is because I remember my mom, she was like, I grew up in the Christian church. And the Christian church believes that once you die, you just go to sleep. I remember her telling me that as a young kid. And then the Baptists believe this, and I'm thinking, why cannot a group of different churches, why do they have so many different beliefs on this one book? I just really have struggled with it. And so now most churches have gone, if you hear of the non-denominational church, that's a good church. That's a church to go to. I really wish all of the churches would drop, whether they're Baptist, Methodist, Pentecostal, whatever, we are the church. Yeah. And that is just another division that Satan has used to divide all the churches. So there won't be any of that in heaven. And I think that's, the division is so much too. That's what's so hard. But so if he can keep us divided, we'll never unite. Mm-hmm. And I mean, he keeps us divided. Distraction, he keeps distractions. The things that you see in the news, I think he uses all of it to distract us from what?
Keeping us busy.
Keeping us busy. You got amusement parks, you have cell phones, you have TVs, you have radio, or your car. You have so much stuff to keep you off focus of Jesus and kingdom work. So let's see. So we have a mission and a purpose, and if he can keep us distracted from that, then he's won. So he's divided us, and he would distract us. And then he would discredit the witness. And I think that is his favorite thing to do. So like when you hear a pastor falling, he's still human. He's still flesh. And yes, they should have known better. And yes, they'll be judged at a higher price. But they're still flesh. And they need prayer. And so he can discredit the witness by letting somebody fall into sin.
Yeah, keeping them angry, keeping them focused on what they're against instead of what they're for. Yep. Keeping them judgmental, critical, self-centered, self-righteous, ticked at the world, and always offended. And we see this
addicted. You're addicted to. You are addicted to something. I even heard a pastor talking about, and it might have been Craig talking about how we are even numb. We love to find a Netflix series to binge because it numbs you. You don't think about the world. How nice is it to find a Netflix series that's so good that you could just lay on the couch and watch it all the time? It is a lot.
I watch Ion.
Ion? What is that?
It's just like a local channel where NCIS plays, Blue Bloods.
Yeah. Oh, I love me some Blue Bloods. Yeah. There's always a good story in it.
But it's kind of like, you kind of know what's going to happen. Yeah. Like, so it's just like, you don't have to like
think about it too much. Yep. Yeah. I like those kind of movies.
Yeah.
Yep. So Satan's main goal is to weaken the body of Christ. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, he can take one of us out here and there, a couple of us over here, but when you get a whole body and you are united in Christ, he can't fight against us.
Well, and just like you were saying earlier, when we're together, you feel like there's more power in it.
Yeah. I mean, Tuesdays, it is everything I can to drag myself in here on Tuesdays because I'm tired and, my mom said, let's have a yard sale. Like, I haven't had a yard sale in forever, so that's what I've been doing, but I'm like, it's just.
And you've been putting a desk together?
Yeah. Oh gosh, and the mirror is broke, so I have to take that whole desk apart. I on TikTok I have this thing, like a desk. Normally, all I'd ever done is go to a furniture place and then they deliver it or whatever. So I thought, well, I'm going to get this new vanity off of Amazon. There were 700 pieces to this thing. Not one piece was put together. And as I'm unloading it, I'm like this big, huge, about this long, of nails and screws and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, this is crazy. I get it all put together, and I go to put the mirror on, and the mirror is broke. And they won't send me a replacement part. I have to take the whole thing back, and nope, we're going to have a little talk with some Amazon. So I just need a mirror. I don't need to take the whole thing back. So that's another thing why I'm exhausted too, because I'm trying to put a crib together and
he's keeping you distracted by keeping you frustrated.
Yes, frustrated over a vanity mirror. So, all right. So down here, let's go on here. Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths. Woo! That one is so hard for me, and that's where I fail miserably. Because even though I want to not have any corrupting talk come out of my mouth, it comes out.
Easy. Yeah.
It does, and it sometimes it's not even what I mean to say. Sometimes people just take it that way or whatever. But I don't even know how you're supposed to do that. But belittling and gossiping and name calling and being critical, those are the things that we're not supposed to do. We're supposed to build each other up. I'm finding that with like David, I could drive him into the ground. But I'm watching the Lord change me. Mm-hmm. I don't want to do that anymore. So I'm trying to lift him up. But there's still times that I'm just in a bad mood, or I'm lazy, or I'm not motivated, and I don't want to do what he's, and I'm like, no, or whatever. And so like
because it feels like it takes more effort. Yeah.
So it is just like, it's a lot. So he has a couple rules about what they do or what they don't do at their house. You want to go over those?
Never call names. There's no reason to be dishonoring, and that's what he was talking about, and showing how honoring he is with his wife. Never raise your voice. No one has ever been changed by someone yelling at them.
And we just are so quick to do that, to raise our voice or to get...
and you'll notice people are more apt to listen if you have a loving tone when you're talking to them.
Yep.
And never get historical, so that means don't dig into the past and bring the past back up.
That's my biggest thing.
And then never threaten divorce. Mm-hmm. And then he made a joke at the end and said, never quote your pastor during a fight.
During a fight.
With your wife.
That's one thing that David and I struggled with, number 4, where he says never threaten divorce. David's from a broken family, and so divorce was always an option for David. He was always, well, you know what, it don't work out, and I'll just leave. And so for our whole marriage, pretty much 20 years, I never had security because he would always threaten divorce. Always. And so now he has, now that he's learned not to do that, because he just thought, he didn't understand the covenant, that you make with the Lord. And that, nowadays if you just don't like who you're married to, you just go get a divorce and go get a new one. And so that's just the thought of our world today. And so it's crazy to think that you would stick it out because you made a covenant with the Lord. And so when you learn the correct way, you fight different. Mm-hmm. Like you don't, like now I fight knowing he's not going to go anywhere. And that's a security for me, and I need that. Where any day I was just thinking he was going to walk out the door. And he can't understand that. Like when I tell him now, I'm like, I thought you settled for me. My whole marriage, I thought that he settled for me. And so when it came time, like in 2019 when my dad passed away, and then I had to tell him that I was addicted to prescription pain pills, I really thought he was going to leave. And he didn't. And at that moment, that's when I realized, well, maybe he does love me. But he can't understand that. He's like, why? And it's because he didn't do a very good job of making me feel secure, knowing he wasn't going to go somewhere. Yeah. And even those words, because he's like, I would never leave you. I would never divorce you. But those words weren't empty. Like they might have been empty to him, meaning that he was never going to go through with it. But to me, I took it very serious. I never could relax. Yeah. I was never comfortable in my own skin. I was never thought I was beautiful enough. I never, even being intimate, like he was always trying to leave a light on, and I was all, I was just always trying to hide from him because I was afraid that if he truly saw maybe who I was or what I looked like, that he would leave. Mm-hmm. So that's been a big hurdle for us. But now I have security in my marriage knowing that he's not going to go anywhere. And so, and he learned, I think a lot of it is just that we just don't know.
Years.
I know. But he was hard-headed. He was hard-headed. But, even after 25 years, I wonder sometimes, and I know other people do, and I just saw somebody's post on Facebook the other day that said, why does God do some things for some people but not?
Oh, I saw that.
She said, why does God heal everybody else but not me? And so as I was reading the comments, I was seeing all these other people who have things that they needed to be healed from. And I think we're just all kind of like seeking and searching and wondering. And I think...
she's the sweetest.
Yes. And you wonder why. And you think, okay, is it my faith? Is it that I don't have enough faith? But I mean, it always takes me back to little James on the Chosen, when he was like, because little James had and I don't really know if he really did have this in the Bible or whatever. I don't ever remember it saying that he had like a limp or whatever. But he was like, the way that Jesus explained it was that, I don't know, it just meant more that he had something wrong with him, but yet the Lord was still using him, who was not perfect and not healed, to heal. Mm-hmm. And I guess in a way that would make you feel comfortable, but then when you're dealing with whatever your ailment is, you're like, why can't he just heal me?
Yeah, because he could just
yes.
a singer.
So, but yeah, it's very sad to see how people question the Lord. Like, why doesn't he heal me when he heals the person who isn't living their life right? Or why, and it just seems like Satan's kingdom is advancing and the kingdom of God is not. And that's just not the case, though. So anyway, anything else?
One of the things that caught me, that he was saying, was Paul doesn't say to be arrogant about your moral superiority. He doesn't say be critical of everyone who thinks differently than you. He doesn't say to be harsh because you're dealing with idiots.
That sounds like something I would say. Like, you're dealing with idiots.
And then he talks about you have to be close in proximity to understand people. Yeah.
And that's another thing COVID has done.
Because people are on social media and they're yelling and being hypercritical and saying all this stuff behind a keyboard and a screen. But if you were right next to each other...
If somebody could hear my tone and hear the compassion in my voice, they would take a lot of what I write or post differently. But also, it's how you read a post. If you're offensive, then you're going to read a post... and be offended. So, but being close, that is something that we've gotten. So it's so hard to be close to people because it's hard. It's hard to do ministry.
And then one of the other things he said that stood out was it's incredibly ineffective to be short with people, to be angry with people. It's incredibly effective to be slow to speak, quick to listen, and slow to become angry.
And have compassion. Says you can hurl truth from a distance, but we need to be close. And then he's got Psalms 134. I thought that was good. You already have that marked? Okay. So he ended with how we should look at it, because we're not perfect either, and so it's so much easier to see somebody else's crap than it is your own. And so in Psalms 134.
Was it the prayer?
130, maybe is it 134 or 139? Yeah. Search me, O God, and know my heart. So the choir master, a Psalm of David. O Lord, you have searched me and know me. You know when I sit down. You know when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from afar. You search out my path and my lying down. You are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, behold, O Lord, you know it altogether. You hem me in behind and before, and lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high, I cannot attain it. Where shall I go from your spirit, or where shall I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me. Your right hand shall hold me. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light about me... Let me start over. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light about me be night. Even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is bright as the day. For the darkness is as a living light with you. For you formed you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in the secret, intricately, woven in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your books were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me. And that just right there, that's what we always say. That every one of them, the days that were formed for me, which means the plans that he has for you, were written in the book before you were even born. Mm-hmm. When yet there was none of them. I mean, he knows what his purpose is for you before you were even born. How precious to me are your thoughts, O God. How vast is the sum of them. If I would count them, they are more than the sands. I awake and I am still with you. Oh, that you would slay the wicked, O God. O men of blood, depart from me. They speak against you with malice intent. Your enemies take your name in vain. Do I not hate those who hate you, O Lord? And do I not loathe those who rise up against you? I hate them with complete hatred. I count them my enemies. Search me, O God, and know my heart. This is the prayer. Try me and know my thoughts, and see if there is any grievous ways in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. So our prayer is basically the Psalms 139, 23, and 24. Search me and see if there is any offenses or bitterness or resentment or hate or unforgiveness or jealousy or, anything that you have in your heart against someone else. You need to ask the Lord to heal you of that, because that will change everything.
And I wrote down the prayer that he prayed. God, show me where I'm arrogant. Show me where I'm judgmental. Show me where I'm self-deceived. Show me where I'm harboring anger. Show me where I'm carrying an offense. Show me where I'm not being kind or compassionate or forgiving. Help me get rid of all anger, malice, and slander, because I don't want to give the devil access to my heart, my marriage, my kids, my friends, or to my church. Mm-hmm. Help me to not give the enemy room. Living offended is a choice. I want to choose to be a follower.
Yep. So we have a choice when someone offends you. And if you are wanting to walk in the Spirit, you're wanting to advance the kingdom, if you're wanting to make a difference, if you're wanting to be used by the Lord, then this is what you have to do. You have to ask him. And I know that when I ask the Lord, when I'm like, Lord, because sometimes I feel dry and I feel like I need to encounter him. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes, I'm busy talking about Jesus and I just want to see him and I want to encounter him. And it doesn't come automatically, but I will encounter him. I know I will. And it will be so powerful sometimes. I've had to almost run out of a room before, because the encounter with God has been so much. If you ask him to show up that you want to encounter, because sometimes we just need Jesus. I know a lot of, I hate when people are like, it's just Jesus. It's just Jesus. Because that's not much of an answer. They don't tell me how to do anything. It is just Jesus. But sometimes you just need to be in the presence of the Lord and empty yourself. Tell him everything exactly how you feel. Tell him, I'm exhausted, I'm overwhelmed, whatever it is. Or I have hatred, or I have unforgiveness for my father who, maybe your father abused you physically, or maybe he wasn't there, or maybe, I don't know what it is. Don't know what it is in your life. There's different scenarios. But Jesus has the answer for each one of those. And it is to make you free. Even though the other person sucks, and they may still suck. They may suck your whole life. They may never change. They may never come to Christ. They may have treated you horribly. But you are responsible for you and your vessel. And in order to love people the right way, the way that Jesus wants us to, we have to do it this way. We have to you have to give grace.
he also said, for every single minute that you're angry, you lose a minute of joy and peace.
Yep.
I thought that was good too.
That's the whole thing, is finding the joy. Like, your circumstance may not be the best. Like, just like, right now we've got Hurricane Beryl coming through, and people's probably lost electricity, or, their food has been, their electricity goes out, so they've lost all their food that's been in, in their deep freeze or whatever. They've lost animals. I've seen them, like, trying to get animals to higher ground. It may seem very, very dark, your circumstance, but you're looking for the joy that comes only from the Lord in the middle of that circumstance. So what do you have to be thankful for? Mm-hmm. What do and Stephen Curtis Chapman, I love going back to his songs when I feel like I'm in battle. And it says, when you feel the spirit of heaviness, you put on the garment of praise. And this is how we fight our battles. I noticed on Sunday, it was so awesome. Carly's Bible, she has wrote, "This is how I fight my battles," on her Bible. And I thought, I might steal that from her, because that's good. But this is how we fight our battles. And so even with difficult people, they need Jesus. Yeah. And you do. You're called to be different. You're called to be like Jesus to them and to overlook their behavior. Because if they're not a Christian, they don't know any better. If they are a Christian, then you begin to pray that the Holy Spirit would. He does. He answers your prayers when you diligently seek for Him. It says, if you seek me, you'll find me. You will find Him. So keep seeking. He will change everything in your life. He will change the people around you. He will heal the people around you in your life. I guess just because we've just been sitting here and it's so obvious for us because we have this ministry, but just our families, mm-hmm. and how far we've came with just our own families. And so when all of our family, which I feel like most of our families now are done good. Like, we were scared to death a year or two ago, mm-hmm. I remember us praying for our children and our husbands, and now I look at it and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, the Lord is so faithful. And so He will do that in everyone's life who seeks Him. And so just understand that those difficult people, when you ask the Lord, give me patience, He's not going to say, zoop, there's your patience. No, He's going to give you a difficult person, and He's going to put them right smack dab in your life. And He's going to say, okay, work on your patience. That's how the Lord works. He does it. He's a spirit, the Holy Spirit. Just remember when I talked earlier about how the fallen angels, they have a spirit, they have a body, but it's these demonic Nephilims that are going around. And Jesus said that a demon was a disembodied spirit. Well, the Holy Spirit is a spirit. He's disembodied. He lives inside. He needs a body to live in. Mm-hmm. And so that's the part that you have to understand, is that He's going to work through you. So when you pray for patience, don't think you're just going to be calm and patient. He's going to put difficult people in your path, and you will learn patience by being patient with them. Yeah, it's a training. It's military training. Like, how can you stand if He just zaps everything? No, but He lets you go through everything in life that you're going to need to stand at the very end. He's going to give you everything that you need, because it says He will equip you for everything that you need. And then when it's time to stand, if you've gone through everything correctly, then you should be able to stand strong. So look at life as a military training. That's the way I look at it. Like, when we go home, our husbands, whatever it is, just know it's military. Hoorah! That's what we say. Crazy. But anyway, so I hope this is helping. I think we need to go on to past Ephesians, the chapter right after, of how to walk in love. Because walking in love, that's the only thing that Satan can't mess up, because he's a father. That's another thing he said. You're going to hand over your spouse by going to bed angry, mm-hmm. to the father of lies. Mm-hmm. And you're going to hand that just makes so much sense. But man, you're laying there and you're thinking, I have so much pride, because I am not going to be the first one to say I'm sorry.
Yeah. And he was talking about, too, don't let the sun go down on your anger. But he said, what would it be like if the same day that you offended your wife or whoever it was, that you also reconciled and healed?
Healed.
Yeah.
Yeah. The same day you were offended, or it could be vice versa, where someone offends you and you're offended, you take it to the Lord and then you let it go. And the same day that you're offended, it's the same day that you take it to the Lord and let Him heal you and know who you are. Because when somebody calls you a name, because they will call you a name. You have to taste it by the Word of God. Is this who God says I am? Mm-mm. No, that's just someone else's opinion of you. So understand, difficult people are not just there to make your day bad. They're there for a lesson. And, you know, some of the most difficult people that I have in my life, I love them dearly. I know how they are, and I pray for them and stuff. But when they finally do turn the curve, I think that is like, you know, like a battle one, you know.
God's working on them too. We have to remember that.
Yes, and give them grace. So, all right, we will see you next week.